The slap echoed through the quiet suburban home in Austin, Texas, as Linda Thompson's hand connected with Emma's cheek. "How dare you bring that woman into my house and shame our family like this?" her mother spat, eyes blazing with betrayal and religious fury. Emma stood there, heart-shattering, never imagining that the woman she loved would one day hold the power to save the very mother who now disowned her. It was a typical Saturday afternoon when Emma had decided it was time to stop hiding. She invited Vivian over for dinner, thinking maybe her mom would see the happiness in her eyes and understand, but the moment Linda walked in early from her shift at the hospital, she caught them in the living room sharing a soft kiss after Emma had just said "I love you" for the 1000th time. The basket of groceries Linda carried hit the floor with a thud, scattering apples across the tile. "Get out!" Linda screamed, her voice cracking as she pointed at Vivian, who stood frozen, her hand still on Emma's arm. "You corrupted my daughter with your sickness, and now you stand here like you belong." Emma's face burned from the slap, but the real pain was deeper. The years of her mother working 2 jobs after her father left when she was 10, the sacrifices that now felt like chains. "Mom, please listen, this is who I am," Emma pleaded, tears streaming down her cheeks. "Vivian makes me happy, she completes me in ways I never knew I needed." Linda's eyes narrowed, her conservative upbringing and the church community she clung to fueling her rage. "Happy?" she repeated mockingly. "What about grandchildren? What about the life I planned for you, the one God wants? You are throwing it all away for this sin." Vivian stepped forward, her voice steady but gentle. "Mrs. Thompson, I love your daughter with everything I have. I would never hurt her or you." But Linda cut her off. "You will never be welcome here. Emma, pack your things and leave with her if that's what you choose, but know this: if you walk out that door tonight, you are no longer my daughter." The words hit Emma like a second slap. She loved her mother deeply, the woman who had raised her alone through endless nights of worry and scraped knees, yet here she was forced to choose. With trembling hands, Emma threw clothes into a suitcase while Vivian waited outside in the car, the engine running softly in the humid Texas night. As they drove away from the only home Emma had ever known, she glanced back at the porch light still on, her mother's silhouette watching from the window. The guilt twisted inside her like a knife. Had she betrayed the one person who sacrificed everything for her just to follow her heart? Vivian reached over, squeezing her hand. "We will get through this, baby, I promise." But in the silence of the car, Emma wondered if love always came with such a heavy price. The next weeks were a blur of new routines in their small apartment downtown. Emma, a 25-year-old graphic designer, threw herself into work to drown out the pain, while Vivian, 26, and climbing the ladder in marketing, tried to shield her from the storm. Phone calls from Linda came daily, at first begging Emma to repent and come home, then turning to silence when she refused. Neighbors whispered when they saw Emma loading boxes, the gossip spreading like wildfire through the tight-knit community. At church on Sunday, Linda sat alone in the pew where Emma used to join her, the empty spot a public accusation. Emma's internal conflict grew nightly as she lay awake replaying every memory of her mother's strength, the homemade meals after long shifts, the proud smile at high school graduation. Was her happiness worth breaking the heart of the woman who gave her life? Vivian held her through the tears, whispering words of reassurance, but even she felt the weight of being the reason for such division. One evening, Emma received a text from her cousin Sarah. "Your mom is devastated," she wrote. "She says you chose that girl over family." The words stung, deepening the wound. Yet when Vivian came home with takeout and a soft kiss on her forehead, Emma felt a spark of certainty. This love was real and worth fighting for, even if it meant paying with pieces of her soul. The days turned into months, and the tension only built as Linda's calls stopped entirely, leaving Emma in a void of uncertainty. She had chosen love, but at what cost to the family that once defined her? Emma and Vivian settled into their apartment, trying to build a life together amid the shadows of rejection. The space was small but filled with their shared dreams, posters from art shows they attended together and Vivian's collection of houseplants that thrived under the window light. Every morning Vivian made coffee just the way Emma liked it, strong with a splash of almond milk, while Emma sketched designs for her latest project at the kitchen table. Their love was the anchor, but the waves of family pressure crashed relentlessly. Linda called constantly, at first her messages shifting from pleas to guilt trips. "Come home and leave that lifestyle, Emma," she would say, her voice tight over the phone. "The church is praying for you. I raised you better than this." Emma would hang up her hands, shaking, the guilt eating at her like acid. She missed the simple things, her mother's Sunday dinners, the way Linda would braid her hair when she was little, the laughter that once filled their home. Nights were the hardest when nightmares of her mother alone and heartbroken pulled her from sleep. Vivian would wake and pull her close, whispering, "I am here, and we are enough." But Emma wondered if love could truly erase the loneliness she saw in her mother's eyes during their last fight. The societal backlash hit hard too. At Emma's graphic design firm, colleagues whispered when she mentioned her girlfriend, the once friendly water cooler chats turning awkward. One coworker, a devout woman from the same church circle as Linda, pulled her aside. "Your mother is suffering, Emma," she said. "Think about what this does to her reputation in the community." The words lingered like a weight on Emma's shoulders, making her question if her choices were selfish. Vivian faced her own battles at work, where a client made a snide comment about alternative lifestyles, but she brushed it off with professional grace, hiding the hurt to protect Emma. Then came the betrayal that shattered the fragile peace. Emma's cousin Sarah, who had always been like a sister, showed up at their door one evening, her face flushed with discomfort. "I had to tell Aunt Linda about your plans to move in together permanently," she admitted. "She was so upset I thought she might do something drastic like show up here." Emma stared in disbelief. "Sarah, how could you? You knew how fragile this is." Sarah shrugged. "Family comes first, Emma, and your mom is falling apart without you. She even tried to set you up with that guy from youth group again." Vivian stood silent, her jaw clenched, the frustration building. After Sarah left, the argument between Emma and Vivian erupted for the first time. "Why does everyone think they can decide what's best for us?" Vivian asked, pacing the living room. "Your mom acts like I stole you, but I fell in love with the strongest woman I know." Emma sank onto the couch, head in hands. "Because she sacrificed everything for me, Viv. 2 jobs after Dad left. Church events where she smiled through the pain. I am her only child, and now I am the reason she sits alone every Sunday." The fight ended in tears and apologies, but the strain showed. Vivian's supportive family back in California called, offering encouragement, contrasting sharply with Linda's silence. They sent care packages and invited the couple for a visit, but Emma could not shake the fear that she was destroying her roots. Weeks blurred as the gossip spread further, neighbors avoiding eye contact at the grocery store, old friends from high school sending judgmental texts. Emma's work suffered a missed deadline here, a distracted meeting there, her boss noticing the change. "You okay, kid?" he asked one afternoon. "Family stuff," she replied, forcing a smile. The price of her decision mounted daily, the internal conflict tearing at her. Did choosing Vivian mean abandoning the woman who shaped her? Yet in quiet moments, when Vivian cooked dinner humming softly, or they watched movies curled together, Emma felt a peace she had never known with anyone else. The love was genuine, deep, and worth the fight, but every ring of the phone brought the dread of more confrontation. One night Linda left a voicemail, her voice breaking. "If you come back now, I can forgive." The words haunted Emma, pushing her closer to the edge of doubt. Vivian noticed and held her tighter. "We will face this together," she promised, but both knew the road ahead was paved with more pain. The pressure from the community intensified when Linda enlisted church friends to visit Emma at work, delivering pamphlets on repentance. Emma politely refused, but the encounters left her drained. Vivian's own past traumas surfaced in late-night talks about her coming out years earlier, and the family rift that followed. "We both paid prices for being true to ourselves," she said. "The question is, will your mom ever see the beauty in what we have?" As months passed, the tension built slowly, the love between Emma and Vivian strengthening even as the divide with Linda widened. Emma wondered how much more her heart could take before something broke. 6 months had passed since Emma walked out, and the silence from Linda grew heavier than any argument. Emma threw herself into her designs, creating vibrant campaigns that won small accolades at work, but the ache for her mother never faded. Vivian supported her through it all, planning weekend getaways to the Texas Hill Country where they could breathe without judgment. Yet the family pressure refused to ease. Linda's health had been declining quietly, at first headaches and fatigue she dismissed as stress from her nursing job. Then came the diagnosis that shook everything. Advanced chronic kidney disease. Her doctor explained, the result of years of unmanaged hypertension and diabetes she had hidden from Emma. Dialysis would be needed soon, and a transplant was the only long-term hope. Emma learned of it through a frantic call from her aunt. "Your mom is in the hospital," she said. "She does not want you there, but I thought you should know." The news hit Emma like a truck. She drove to the hospital despite the ban, her heart pounding as she stood outside Linda's room. Through the window she saw her mother, pale and hooked to machines, the woman who once carried her on her shoulders, now fragile. "Mom," she whispered, pushing the door open. Linda's eyes opened, cold and unyielding. "Leave, Emma," she rasped. I do not want anything from you while you live in sin. The rejection cut deep, but Emma persisted. I can help test as a donor. Please let me try. Linda turned away. I would rather wait on the list than take from a life that dishonors God. Emma left the room, tears blurring her vision, the guilt now mixed with fear. Back home she broke down in Vivian's arms. She is so stubborn, Viv. What if she dies hating me? Vivian held her, stroking her hair. We will find a way. I will get tested too if it helps. Emma's attempts at reconciliation were met with more barriers. Church members rallied around Linda, bringing meals and prayers, their whispers reaching Emma through mutual friends. Your mother is a saint for enduring this, they said. The societal judgment amplified Emma's internal torment. Was her love for Vivian truly worth risking her mother's life? Nightmares plagued her, visions of Linda alone on dialysis machines beeping endlessly. Vivian remained her rock, working extra hours to cover bills while secretly scheduling her own medical tests. She never told Emma at first, wanting to spare her the hope or disappointment. Meanwhile, Emma's cousin Sarah visited again, this time with a plea from Linda. She wants you to meet with the youth pastor to talk things through. Emma refused, the betrayal from family stinging anew. The divide widened when Linda's condition worsened, requiring emergency dialysis. Emma sat in the waiting room for hours only to be turned away when Linda woke. The moral weight pressed on Emma daily. Her happiness with Vivian brought joy, but at the cost of watching her mother suffer. Vivian's support never wavered, but even she felt the strain, the constant defense of their love exhausting. One evening after another rejection at the hospital, Emma and Vivian argued. I cannot keep watching her fade, Emma cried. Maybe I should go back alone for a while. Vivian's eyes filled with hurt. And what about us? Am I the price you pay for her approval? The conversation ended in silence, but forgiveness followed with deeper talks about sacrifice. Emma realized her choices had ripple effects, the pain spreading to everyone she loved. As Linda's wait for a donor dragged on, the community prayed publicly for her recovery, some even implying Emma's lifestyle was the cause of the illness. The accusation fueled Emma's doubt, but Vivian's quiet strength reminded her of their bond. The tension climbed higher with each hospital visit, the fear of loss looming like a storm. Emma offered again to donate, but the match was not viable, her blood type incompatible. The search continued, but time was running out. In the quiet of their apartment, Vivian made her decision alone, heading to the clinic for full compatibility testing. The results would change everything, but for now the weight of unspoken possibilities hung heavy. Emma's heart tore between two worlds, the mother who raised her and the woman who completed her. The price of love was proving steeper than she ever imagined. Linda's condition deteriorated rapidly, the dialysis sessions leaving her exhausted and frail. Emma visited when allowed, standing in the hallway listening to the beeps of machines, her heart aching with every refusal. The donor list was long and matches rare, the doctors warned time was critical. Emma had already been ruled out, but she pushed for family testing, only to face more rejection from relatives who sided with Linda's views. Vivian watched the pain in Emma's eyes and made her move quietly. She scheduled the full battery of tests at the same hospital, blood work, tissue matching, everything required for a living donor. The nurse explained the risk: surgery, recovery, possible complications, but Vivian nodded, determined. This was for Emma, the woman she loved more than her own safety. The results came back faster than expected. Perfect match. Vivian sat in the car outside the clinic, staring at the paper, her hands trembling. She could save the mother who had tried to erase her from Emma's life. The moral dilemma consumed her. Was it right to offer her body to someone who saw their love as wrong? Would Linda accept it or see it as manipulation? Deep inside, Vivian reflected on her own past, the family that had distanced themselves when she came out, the loneliness she knew too well. Helping Linda meant risking her health for a woman who might never accept her, but it could heal Emma's broken heart. That night she told Emma over dinner, her voice steady. I got tested. I am a match. Emma's fork dropped, her face paling. No, Viv, you cannot. The surgery, the risks, what if something happens to you? Vivian reached across the table. I am doing this for you. Your mom is dying and I love you enough to try. The conversation stretched late into the night, Emma torn between gratitude and terror. She imagined the worst: Vivian on an operating table, complications that could leave her weakened. Yet the alternative was losing Linda forever. The betrayal came when Sarah overheard a conversation and told Linda. Your girlfriend is trying to play hero, she reported over the phone. Linda's response was immediate and furious. I will not take her kidney. It is blood money from a sinner trying to buy forgiveness. The news reached Emma and Vivian through the same cousin, the rejection hitting like a fresh wound. Vivian's resolve did not break. She visited the hospital alone, standing at Linda's bedside despite the nurse's hesitation. Mrs. Thompson, I know you hate me, but Emma needs you. I am offering this because love means sacrifice. Linda turned away, her voice weak but sharp. You think this makes you noble? You stole my daughter. Vivian stood firm, explaining her fears, the pain of past rejections, but also the hope that this act could bridge the gap. Emma arrived later, the three women in the room creating a tense triangle of emotions. The internal conflicts raged. For Emma, it was choosing between protecting Vivian and saving her mother. For Vivian, it was weighing self-respect against selfless love. Linda grappled with her pride, the fear of owing her life to the woman she blamed for her family's fracture. Doctors urged a decision, the dialysis barely sustaining her. After hours of heated talks and tears, Linda reluctantly agreed, the survival instinct winning over prejudice for now. The surgery was scheduled for the following week, the preparation filled with medical briefings and emotional goodbyes. Vivian hugged Emma tightly before the pre-op tests. Whatever happens, know this was my choice. Emma nodded, the weight of the decision pressing on her chest. The days leading up were filled with quiet moments, Vivian writing letters in case things went wrong, Emma praying for strength she did not know she had. The community buzzed with the news, some praising the sacrifice, others questioning the motives. The price was clear: Vivian risked her future health for a woman who might never fully embrace her. Emma faced her own reckoning, the guilt of putting her partner in this position. As the surgery date neared, the tension peaked, each decision carrying the potential to heal or destroy. The morning of the surgery dawned gray and heavy in Austin, the hospital buzzing with controlled urgency. Vivian changed into the gown, her blonde hair tied back, her face calm despite the nerves. Emma stood by her side, holding her hand, the love between them a silent promise. I am scared, Emma whispered, but so proud of you. Vivian smiled softly. This is how we fight for our future. In the adjacent room, Linda lay prepped, her body weak, but her mind sharp with lingering doubts. She had argued with the doctors until the end, questioning if accepting the kidney meant endorsing the relationship. The nurses wheeled her toward the operating theater, passing Vivian's room. Their eyes met briefly, Linda's filled with conflict, Vivian's with quiet determination. The procedures began simultaneously, the transplant team working with precision. Emma paced the waiting area, her mind racing through every possible outcome. What if Vivian's body rejected the stress? What if Linda woke ungrateful, deepening the rift? The hours dragged, doctors updating her periodically, everything proceeding as planned. Vivian's sacrifice was no small thing. The recovery would demand weeks of rest, potential lifelong medication. She had waited all, the career pause, the physical toll, the emotional vulnerability of saving her opponent's life. Yet for Emma, she would do it again. Hours later, the surgeon emerged smiling. Both are stable. The kidney is functioning well. Relief washed over Emma, but the real battle was just beginning. In recovery, Vivian woke first groggy but coherent. Emma kissed her forehead, whispering thank you 1,000 times. When Linda regained consciousness, the room filled with tension. She felt the new organ inside her, a foreign gift from the woman she had fought so hard against. Nurses brought Vivian in a wheelchair for a brief visit, the two women facing each other for the first time without barriers of anger. You did this, Linda said, her voice hoarse. Why? Vivian met her gaze. Because Emma loves you and I love Emma. Hate could not change that. Linda's eyes welled with tears, the walls of prejudice cracking under the weight of survival. She had spent months convincing herself the relationship was the cause of her ills, but now lying there alive because of it forced a reckoning. Emma watched the exchange, her heart in her throat. The moral dilemma surfaced again. Was Linda's acceptance genuine or born of obligation? Had Vivian's act erased the pain of disownment or merely highlighted the hypocrisy? Days passed in the hospital with tentative conversations. Linda shared fragments of her past, the abandonment by Emma's father, the fear of being alone that made her cling to tradition. Vivian listened without judgment, revealing her own struggles with acceptance. Emma mediated the talks, her decisions shaping the fragile peace. The costs were evident. Vivian's incision pained her every movement, a reminder of the risk. Emma's relationship with her mother strained under the new dynamic, the old wounds still raw. Linda grappled with her faith community, some members questioning her choice to accept the gift. The drama peaked in one heated exchange when Linda admitted, "I was wrong to ban you, but this does not mean I approve." Vivian nodded. "Approval is not what I seek. Respect for your daughter is." Emma's internal conflict reached its height as she balanced loyalty to both. The surgery had saved a life, but the emotional surgery was ongoing, the healing slow and painful. As discharge approached, the three women navigated new territory, the price of prejudice, and love paid in blood and tears. The hospital room filled with soft morning light as Linda sat up in bed for the first time without assistance, the new kidney working steadily inside her. Vivian recovered in the next wing, her strength returning gradually, the scar on her side a badge of the ultimate choice. Emma moved between them, carrying messages and hope, the bridge that held them together. In quiet moments, Linda reflected, alone, the machines now silent, the reality sinking in. She had rejected her daughter for loving a woman only to be saved by that very love. The prejudice she clung to for protection now seemed hollow against the selflessness shown. Memories flooded back, the lonely years raising Emma, the church sermons that shaped her views, the fear of judgment from neighbors. Had she been protecting her daughter or her own wounds? When Emma brought Vivian for a longer visit, the conversation flowed deeper than before. "I see now," Linda said, her voice trembling. "My anger blinded me. I almost lost you both." Vivian sat carefully, the pain in her side a constant companion. "I do not expect you to change overnight, but Emma deserves your love without conditions." Emma watched, tears in her eyes, the years of conflict culminating in this fragile understanding. The reconciliation was not instant, scars remained, Linda still attending church with reservations, Vivian cautious in her interactions. Family dinners resumed tentatively, awkward silences broken by small steps like Linda asking about their work or offering advice on recipes. The community reacted mixed, some praising the miracle, others whispering about compromise. Emma's guilt eased but never vanished, the price she paid in emotional turmoil, the strain on her relationship with Vivian now stronger but tested. Vivian reflected on her decision, the physical toll manageable, the emotional growth profound. She had risked everything to prove love transcended hate. Linda faced her own awakening, attending counseling to unpack her biases, the single mother, who once stood firm, now questioning long-held beliefs. The bond between Emma and Vivian deepened, their evenings filled with gratitude and quiet affection, the sacrifice forging resilience. Yet the journey was ongoing, Linda's health monitored closely, Vivian's follow-up scheduled. In the end, as they sat together on the porch of Linda's home watching the Texas sunset, Emma realized the true cost. Choices had consequences, love demanded courage, and forgiveness was a daily decision. The family rebuilt piece by piece, but the question lingered in the air. Did Vivian's selfless act truly atone for years of rejection and pain? Or did it only prove that some prejudices run so deep no single sacrifice can ever fully erase the wounds they leave behind?